Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again. It's been a while since we came live. We've been doing the pre-recorded videos and podcasts. And if you haven't already watched it, check out on our channel for all the informative videos on football and cricket. But before we get into today's video, do not forget to check out our channel that is Boomer 11, and also check out our app which is Boomer 11. We've got free to play fantasy feature, and also you can play premium contests with Boomer 11. There's your opportunity. Check it out. The link is down in the description. But without further ado, let's get into today's live. I have Jaren and Sandeepani with me. I'll get to Sandeepani first up. Sandeepani, what a big series that we have on our hand. I mean, this could be one of the marquee series of the year because there's a lot of hype whether Brendan McCullum can have success as a coach in India, and whether England can defeat India after 10 years or 12 years rather. Because the last time around when India lost a series in India, that was against an England team which was packed with superstars. But now it's a very exciting England team who's been playing some exciting brand of cricket, and they're very confident of winning in India.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the buzz is all the more okay with it because I feel that England has been that one opponent that has troubled India past even at their home. Last time we saw that England came in with a fairly inexperienced squad, but you had Rishabh
Long
Pant
days,
taking
long
on the
days.
attack Jack Leach, but still, India did manage to come out on top after the first test. They steadied themselves and went on to win 3-1. And after the 2012-2013 series, we have had eight test matches or nine test matches in India that England have played, and they have just won one and drawn one and lost the remaining seven. So I think that is a thing that India would be looking to capitalize on. 12 years since India lost the test series at home, but also 13 years since India will play a test match without Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, and Cheteshwar Pujara. This is going to be a marquee series for India as well. We have great, exciting talents coming up. You have the likes of Yashasvi Jaiswal, Shubman Gill, who would be looking to make a mark, make a name for themselves. Even Shreyas Iyer or a KS Bharat will have their
Yeah.
opportunity to shine with the bat. And also, I think for the England well. I think they are also they look to consolidate their batting lineup. It has only been Joe Root when you talk about batting in India. England have only Joe Root to show for it. Others, all of them have very very poor stats in India. So I think
Um,
everybody look to redeem themselves. The likes of Johnny Bairstow and even Ben Stokes for the matter.
Absolutely. We'll talk about batting lineup in depth. Welcome, Jaren, on the show as well. Jaren, we did discuss about this in our podcast as to whether or not England can have the success in India as much as we think they can, because looking at what England are bringing into this particular series, they are much more confident as a team. They look like a team who can come out there and win in India. But the good thing is now they've announced 11, so we can talk by looking at the 11 as to who we have to face tomorrow or who India will have to face tomorrow on the cards. If you look at the 11, which will be up on the screen right now, you can understand that they are a team. They've announced a team with foreseeing the pitch is going to turn from day one from the first ball. So they've gone with three spinners and just one sole pacer, Mark Wood, and two inexperienced spinners in Tom Hartley and Rehan Ahmed. And Jack Leach toured India once. That was the last time around in 2021. You reckon that's a good decision to go with three spinners in India? So you'll be opening your bowling with one of the spinners. And on top of all this inexperienced spinners, will that be a good idea? Because at the end of the day, if you have an experienced pacer like a Anderson, it's still a better option than going with an inexperienced spinner.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising once again to be able because I mean you have to say that if you look at the England tour last time around as well, Joe Root did present himself as a viable option, viable second spinner as well, or maybe even a third spinner. So I think two spinners were enough. And I really don't understand why three spinners and out of which two of them are really inexperienced. I would have been okay if it had been two spinners and probably someone like James. I think James Anderson has had a decent record in India. If you compare some of the other pacers that have come to India from England, you have to say James Anderson has been one of the better performers. And I know it's not going to be easy for him at a certain age. I know he's probably the fittest out there at that age. But even then, to play in the harsh conditions of India in that hot afternoon that you're going to have to face in Hyderabad, it's not going to be easy to keep bowling those spells. But I think Jimmy Anderson is a very clever operator, and we have seen that in India in the past few tours that the opposition has made, the new ball has played a certain role. Now, it's not going to be what you see in England or South Africa, where the new ball is so critical. But even then, someone like James Anderson can be that experienced player who would have helped out the likes of everyone in the team, because he's been to India multiple times. He's won in India before. In fact, he is the last foreign player, if I'm not wrong, who won in India aside from Joe Root in this team. So you'd have to say that this lad does know how to win. So very surprised. And also, if you look at the spinners they have picked, they have not picked them based on their performances,
Yeah,
in the county league. They've picked on their potential and the hope that these players will be able to transport that potential into performances. But we all know that the subcontinent conditions are very different from what English spinners face in their country, and the way English spinners take their wickets and how the subcontinent spinners take their wickets is very different, and that sometimes that gap really hurts spinners. So it's going to be interesting to see how these lads perform.
absolutely. But yeah, Sandeep, as Teju rightly mentions over here about Shoaib Bashir controversy, I think, as always, the talk is a lot outside cricket than about cricket, even before the first ball is bowled. The visa issue, which is quite clear that a player of Pakistani origin always finds it difficult to get visa, and he always will have to be in his home country in order to get visa. But whereas this lad was in UAE for all this while, so for him to even to get visa, he'll have to be in his home country, which is UK at this point. So henceforth, he was sent back to UK, and there was just a delay in his visa process due to which now he'll only be back by this weekend, I'm supposing. So he'll be flying back to India, joining the squad for the second test match. But either ways, do you think these are all outside noise which shouldn't have been there before start of such a big test series?
Let's talk about Shoaib Bashir's numbers to start off with. I think he has played some 6 first-class games and picked up 10 wickets at an average of 67. Played a listed career. I think he averages around 99. Picked up 3 wickets in 7 games. So I don't know what the noise is about. Tom Hartley is a more experienced first class bowler, at least from what I know. I think he has had a better result, and also I think
Yeah,
Rehan Ahmed. It's I talk about the selection. If you talk about the selection, getting Tom Hartley as well as a Rehan Ahmed ahead of James Anderson may be something that you can question, because
yeah,
James Anderson, Jaren mentioned, has been one of the best bowlers for England, even in subcontinent conditions. So I first of all, I did not know why England are going about with a 3 spin bowling lineup. Also, you have a Joe Root in the lineup who can roll over his arms, and not to forget that he picked up a 5 wicket haul in the 2021 series, and
Yeah.
can be a menace with the ball sometimes as well. So potentially they are going in with 4 spinners, and if you talk about seam, I think they have just Mark Wood, who is very, very injury prone.
yeah.
So I think it's a very, very questionable call to go in with 3 spinners, 2 of which are very inexperienced. I think they are trying to, replicate what Australia did in their last tour, get in inexperienced bowlers, which the Indian batters probably wouldn't have much knowledge about. But then again, the surprise element can only work up to a certain point, and the experience counts. So it is
Yeah,
a very, very surprising call to get in a Rian Ahmed and a Tom Hartley, and the cry going in about Shoaib Bashir is absolutely pathetic. Like you mentioned, I think the visa process and everything should have been handled earlier on as well. And I think you have to blame the England Cricket Board. And I think we all know up till now, or at this point, we all know what the England media or the journalists do. If you have even small point to talk about, they'll just elaborate the matter, and then they'll just make a fuss about nothing. So
absolutely. There's
yeah,
no doubt.
I think everything will be settled after the first game. It will be very interesting to see what Shoaib Bashir does coming into the second test, with only 6 first class games under his belt. Very, very surprising.
True. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I don't even think he would have made it to 11 regardless. Now that they have something to cry about, they are just crying about it. Just one extra factor about him is that he's a 6'4" tall bowler. You don't see off spinners being that tall ever. And for someone of his height to be landing a ball in India, maybe it would have caused a little bit of confusion. Batters might just that being an added advantage. But other than that, skill factor is massive. And experience factor is going to play a massive part in India. But let's shift focus to the home team now. We've spoken about England in depth, and we've released a whole lot of podcast as to how England can succeed here. But let's talk about the home team. I mean, Virat Kohli not being there is the first major blow for India for the first couple of test matches. Obviously, we wish him well. We don't know what the personal reasons are, so he's decided to pull out. Similarly, on the England camp, on the other end of the spectrum, you have Harry Brook, who's only part of it. How do you see this gel now? Virat Kohli not being there, who can possibly fill that void? Because when you compare Harry Brook with Virat Kohli is situated somewhere else. His miss is going to be much more on India than Harry Brook's miss for England.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you consider the fact that India has been struggling in the middle order for a while in Test cricket now, especially Test cricket at home, rather. The middle order has done decent enough in Test cricket outside the country. But the moment they come to India, the middle order has struggled a lot. And I think two players who have done consistently well in this period is Shreyas Iyer and Virat Kohli. So, I mean, I know Virat Kohli has not really been the Virat Kohli of the past, and that's only started last year, where he got back to the Virat Kohli, the monster that he is in Test cricket. But now that he's there and now you're gonna have to miss him out again, I think one thing, a factor for them is obviously the fact that KL Rahul will be playing there because he won't be keeping, which means an extra player is anyway going to come in Shrikona Bharat probably. So that
Yeah.
means you're gonna see KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer be that cornerstone, and they're gonna have to come together and try and bridge that gap, that void which will be left by Virat Kohli leaving. But having said that, I think one huge miss of Virat Kohli is going to be that presence he brings in, right? That intimidation that the Virat Kohli brings into when it comes to. It's okay, Virat. It's okay, Virat. Whatever the reason being,
You deserve it, man.
you
For what you've
deserve
done
it.
for country, I mean, if anybody
Yeah,
can take a break, it's you, bro. I mean, go on.
yeah,
No,
man.
no comments. Just
I
have
like
fun.
how Kohli is owning up to the king mantle now. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's getting back to the whole topic. I think it's gonna be interesting to see. It's also like Sandhimani rightly mentioned, it's the first Test match in quite a while that has not had Ajinkya Rahane, Cheshwar Pujara, and Virat Kohli,
So 2011.
the
That's
cornerstones
13 long years, my
since
brother.
2011.
Yeah.
Correct. It's since 2011, and that also means this is going to be a team which is going to showcase a team
I
for
have a
future. Maybe
question for you, Dylan, here, and
barring the likes of
everybody
Rohit
was
Sharma.
talking about this. Do you think that Chiteshwar Pujara should have been
Yeah,
considered for this particular two games? He scored a double hundred recently in first class, and he's a player in good nick.
yeah,
Okay, you're creating Rajat Patidar, who did exceedingly well in that England Lions India A game, who scored, who took India out of trouble from being 72 for 6. So give credit to him for that. But Chiteshwar Pujara at number 3, from whatever I've seen of Shubman Gill, has been extremely poor. And also Teju has mentioned he looked bleak. That's what he's termed the middle order, and I agreed with Teju here. KL Rahul at 4 is what I'm supposing, and Shreyas Iyer at 5, and at 6 I'm supposing it's going to be Bharat, considering he's put 100 recently. And Jadeja 7, Akshar 8, and Ashwin 9, however India are going to play. But having said that, Chiteshwar Pujara at 3 would have been a slightly better option, or Chiteshwar Pujara at 4 at least, because there's a lot of solidity which this could have brought in. I mean, at least he might have taken time, but there is this sense of belief that okay, he can come in and do a job if there are wickets falling in the other end, and he's a fantastic player spinner that they play.
yeah. I mean, even I was a bit surprised because he has been scoring really well in the domestic cricket, and I think that probably shows for those of you who are Chiteshwar Pujara fans. I think I would like to say I like watching him bat. I know people think he's very boring, but it's just the grit and determination. I know Abel is already thinking about what I find interesting in it, but I just like the grit and determination that he shows. You know, he blunts the ballers, he really tires them out, and there's something
Yeah, I like
monk-like
that.
about it. Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, but then the issue, obviously, I feel at this point in time, Indian selectors are moving beyond him, and that just shows, because he's done everything that a player who wants to come back to India needs to do. Right? He's put a double century. He's recently broken the 20,000 first class runs record as well. He's been scoring runs, and I know Ajinkya Rahane has definitely not scored runs. No one's going to talk about him at all in the same vein. But even with Ajinkya Rahane, I just felt like it was a bit harsh the way he was removed from the team after a decent performance in the WTC final as well. But I think that kind of shows that they're moving beyond him, and probably this squad, right? Like I mentioned, barring the likes of Rohit Sharma, is probably this is the batting order that the selectors are looking for the future, because I know Shubman Gill has looked a little jittery at that top of the order, at number 3 rather than top of the order, because we have spoken about a struggle starting against spin, and won't be surprised if they do give spinners that early chance with the new ball, because I mean I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen as soon as possible, but also the fact that they've gone with only one seamer, and I don't think Ben Stokes going to ball a lot, probably shows that the new ball might, if not right away, they will get at least a relatively new ball. So I won't be surprised if Gill has to
But let's be
start against the
honest.
spinner, and
I mean, we'll talk
that's
about Gill
where
for a
yeah.
whole episode because I personally think there's a lot to talk about him, dissect him. Because you're right in mentioning that, Gill's, as Teju also mentioned, this make or break for Gill rather this series. At least the first couple of matches, in my opinion. Because if he fails there, I don't see any reason why he should be in the third match. Because how long will you have a player who's averaging in the lower 30s as your number three? I mean, you're trying him, you're giving him a longer rope than any other player. You're giving him the utmost opportunity so that he can succeed in Test cricket. He's got serious technical issues when it comes to playing overseas, which is now exposed all round. There's no doubt about it. He can't face an in-swinger. And he's struggling a big time when it comes to ball moving around. And when it comes to spin, he's struggling there as well. And if you cannot do these two things, then you cannot be a number three in any form of the game, and especially in Test cricket. But something we're talking about, which, if at all, if India have to solidify the middle order, KL Rahul, Shreyas Iyer, because Shreyas Iyer should be there in your team when you're playing in India. I know Mark Wood factor is going to be there, but I think Shreyas Iyer can counter him pretty well there.
Yeah, exactly, and I think he's a great player of spin as well. So he'll get to that counter-attacking game as well. If India lands upon trouble, say at 50 for 3 or 50 for 4, you can have a Shreyas Iyer counter-attack, and in a span of say 2 hours or a session, the game can be swung in India's favor. We have seen that happen in the past. But then again, yeah, coming back to the Gill point, I feel it's obviously a make or break for Gill. But then again, when once Kohli is back, anyway, India had to. If Kohli would have opted to play this game, and if KL Rahul is not keeping, then you have to have, say, a Dhruv Jurel or a KS Bharat in at number 6. So you just have the luxury of choosing, two other batters apart from Kohli in the middle order. So you can either have two of Gill, Shreyas Iyer, or KL Rahul. Out of which KL Rahul, I think, will be considered for sure after his gritty knock in South Africa. So I think you'll have to choose between Shreyas Iyer and Gill. And talking about Gill's form in the past 1 or 2 years in Test cricket,
Shreyas Iyer
it's
haven't
been
been any good either, so let's just keep that
no,
also
but
in mind.
but with Shreyas Iyer, you can still talk about the time when Rishabh Pant was still there. You had the likes of Shreyas Iyer and Rishabh Pant putting India or saving India from a lot of blushes when the top three or the top four of India were not performing well. Now we
Yeah.
have a Kohli who is back in form. So I think, yeah, rightly so. But I think Shreyas Iyer has performed better than Shubman Gill in Test matches over the last 1 or 2 years. And it's
Yeah.
not just that. I think Gill's technique has been found out a little. You're talking about when you're playing in India, the main focus is on how you tackle the spinners. But with Gill, I think the last time England came to India, I think James Anderson got him out quite a lot of times. He was out to the paces as well. Over the
Yeah.
last few years, we
Yes,
have
yeah.
seen that he's him struggling with that in-swinging delivery. So
Yeah.
forget tackling the spinners. He's finding it difficult to tackle the pacers, first of all. So
Yeah.
I think these two matches will give him. He'll be under a lot of pressure, and he'll need to perform because otherwise, I feel that you can have a KL Rahul in at number 3
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
Kohli is back, and then
Absolutely.
Shreyas Iyer will maintain his number 5 spot.
Absolutely. I
But
mean, I understand what he's trying to make, and I feel it's very
yeah,
unfortunate for KL Rahul that we are just playing around with this position a lot. You have to keep wickets, you have to bat number 4 one day, you have to open the batting one day, bat at number 3. I mean, this lad has done it all. Credits to him,
yeah.
kudos to him. He was one of the most
Do you
criticized players,
He
but I feel
knew Dravid.
So
Bat
I
at all
had a
positions,
feeling,
keep it needed.
so I
you
had
go
this
ahead.
feeling, yeah, and I don't know if the Indian team management is saying it out loud, but do you reckon it's possible that they feel KL Rahul is not going to be able to? Two reasons that I feel, yeah. You guys can tell me opinions on either of them. First off, I think they're a bit worried about KL Rahul getting injured just before the T20 World Cup. They don't want to stress him way too much by
I
making
don't
him
think he's
keep
part of
for
T20 World Cup there.
25
Take that
days.
out. He's not going to be
Or
there for
else
T20 World Cup.
yeah, so that's the first thing. And the second one that I feel is probably the issue that they face is they feel like KL Rahul might struggle to keep on the 4th and 5th day if
I
the
think
test
the
match goes
second
to
point
that.
is much more valid because I was just listening to what Deepdas Gupta was saying as well. In India, you will have to be in the game for 90 overs from first ball, especially if you're
Yeah.
preparing tracks like what you're going to prepare for these test matches, where you're going to be up and down. You will have to climb up with the turn, and you have to be absolutely spot on with your keeping because chances will come by a whisker. You have to grab at it. You don't want to miss half chance. That's why Rajiman Saha was one of our best in that Virat Kohli era, right? Though he did not contribute over the bat, but we grabbed those half chances. The game was turned in these half chances, let's be honest. And for KL Rahul, we still there's a little bit of question. If you remember that match in South Africa, we dropped Marco Jansen a couple of times with KL Rahul keeping there. I
Yeah.
mean, that's when he was turned. He dropped Dean Elgar once. So you cannot have a keeper who's not sure of what he's doing, right? So, and especially in India, you need to use the high profile series. So KS Bharat is better. Dhruv Jurel has been keeping for India A. They all are certified keepers. So you'd rather have him. So, but having said that, as Sandeep rightly mentioned, in my opinion, KL Rahul might be a number three from the third test match, depending on his performance, obviously, on the first two test matches. But let me ask you guys this question. What do you guys think about KL Rahul as a number three? I think it's a good long-term option. For me, we give Shubman Gill this GABA tag for way too long. Let's be honest, it's been 3 years since then now. And if you're going to give him that GABA tax for this long, I think it's not right.
And
It's not.
even if you give him the GABA tag, he came into open and he was facing the fast bowlers and he was playing
Okay,
better back
yeah,
then.
you give him that. He won as a match. All credits to him. But 191 does not give you a chance to play next 50 innings by not scoring anything. I mean, let's be honest. He was awful in South Africa. He was awful in West Indies. He looked out of touch even against Australia. Maybe Bali and Ahmedabad, obviously. When he goes to
I think
Ahmedabad,
the biggest concern is not him being off in South Africa or him being off in West Indies. I think the biggest concern is him averaging only 30 in India. I think that should
exactly,
be one of the biggest concerns. And you have
absolutely.
players like Mayank Agarwal who are found for their techniques outside India, come in and score runs for fun in India, opening the batting for Team India. So I think
Absolutely.
that is one aspect that
Yeah, I
Gill will
mean,
have to really, really improve on.
I think that's a very fair point. I mean, I know average. I mean, and I think averages in India have fallen considerably because India started making spicier pitches. But I think openers aren't affected as much by those kind of pitches. I think it's the middle order, especially that the I wouldn't say the lower middle order, but rather the middle order itself. From the numbers 4, 5, 6 are the ones who suffer the most because that's when the ball is at the right space where it's not soft enough that the ball isn't turning. At the same time, it is not as new that it's slipping out of the spinner's hand. The spinner is able to grip it, and at the same time, the seam is upright enough for it to turn and bounce as well. So that's why I think 3, 4, 5 have struggled in India across all teams, not just India. In fact, I think India and Bangladesh are the two teams where teams have struggled at these positions. But the openers haven't found it that difficult, and that's where, like Sandipani rightly mentioned, I think the one reason that I see him struggling is I sometimes feel he premeditates with his footwork a lot, especially against spinners. You see him plant that foot way
But
too,
Jeremy, your point is number three,
I mean,
four has struggled in India,
yeah,
right? But he has never played in number three in India
yeah.
until
Exactly,
today. So
precisely my point.
when he's
And
going to play,
even when he was not playing number 3, 4, 5, he was struggling. And now that he's playing number three, his odds of doing well is even more difficult. So I think you would have to say that that's the point. Yeah, but I feel against the spinners, especially against the spinners who take the ball away from him, like left arm spinners especially,
yeah,
I think he takes that front foot way too forward, way too quickly. I think against spinners you have to be a little bit more agile with your front footwork, and
yeah.
you cannot really show your cards right away by planting
I think
that foot out
that's
there because of the
one
ball.
point to it. But where he struggled is against left arm spinners, where he's gotten
Yeah,
out of the
precisely.
straighter
I
one
think.
quite a lot.
Yeah. See, well, that's my point. Yeah, when you put your front foot out so quickly and so sturdily out there, and now you're in your
And I
mind
think
you
that
are
is where
already
he'll
committed to
have
the
his
idea
work
that
cut out. I think he'll have his work cut
yeah,
out because you have the likes of Jack Leach and
yeah,
Tom Hartley who are left arm orthodox spinners.
precisely. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, my
I think we'll
point
take some
is when
questions
you
right
plant
now.
your front foot out
Go
so
ahead, sir.
quickly, yeah, when you plant your front foot out so quickly and you've made up your mind that the ball is going to turn, if it straightens, then you are in no man's land, and then you end up within a gap in your bat and pad, or your pad comes in the way, and I think that's what he's struggling at this point in time.
Absolutely. We look at some of the data points, right? Because it's so important to look at how teams have been doing well. Let's look at some of the matchups to start off with for tomorrow. I think this matchup is one of the most interesting matchups of the series as well. It's Ashwin versus Ben Stokes because Ben Stokes have been troubled with Ashwin quite a lot. And on top of all this, one of the most interesting ones, in my opinion, we saw that when India toured England as well, it was Johnny Bairstow versus Jasprit Bumrah as well. How this was a very interesting matchup to watch out for, where Jasprit Bumrah troubled quite a bit with that high backlift which he had. He was bowling those full length and he was falling to it. But maybe we'll take some questions before we get into this. So need Kuldeep is what Teju says, but Akshar gives batting depth. I think Akshar will start, considering what he done against England in the last series. And also the batting depth factor is massive. You don't want to be 85 for 5 and capitulate for 150. You want to have the 200, 220. And he's been good enough to do that. Iyer should have been. Iyer should have kept for Asian countries should never play in Sena countries, getting exposed overseas. Good point there. I think you
Yeah,
cannot
yeah.
have players just particularly for overseas in India. I think India should narrow down. If India thinks Rajat Patidar is a way to go, put him in. If India thinks KL Rahul is number 3, put him in. Don't fiddle around quite a lot.
And going
Because that's
forward, I
something which
think
I
with
hated.
Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane permanently, I mean, we can more or less say that their days are over, and I don't see
Yeah, yeah.
Cheteshwar Pujara or Ajinkya Rahane get a call up
I think
anytime soon.
Chiteshwar Pujara is still higher on the the pecking order for
Taking
why
order,
he's getting
yeah,
called up.
but I still
But
feel it is unlikely because they are looking for a transition. They are
yeah, they are, they are.
trusting
But
guys
then,
like
trust me, there
Shubman
is no
Gill.
one out there. There is
Yeah,
Sarfraz Khan who could have come in at number 5 for them, but they're not really. They're definitely not going there. There's certainly something about it that they're not impressed with Sarfraz Khan, or else at least you should have gotten when Virat Kohli isn't there, right? They've gone with
yeah,
Rajat Patil, and
that
also
is a
he
very very
showed what he
interesting
could do.
call.
That's also because what he showed in the recent game, like under pressure, 72 for 6 to take the game out and to help them score. We'll take some. Priyanka says, missed you guys so much. You'll say, Emil glowing up. Thank you so much for the Priyanka. We missed you all too these coming days. Rajesh Matthew says, we require batsman number 3 who can score runs at a good pace in India and abroad. That's a good point. With Chiteshwar Pujara, one of the biggest criticism that Jaren rightly mentioned was consuming a lot of balls, which is adding pressure on the other end, right? Batters were falling to that. Now, if you're getting number 3, you all thought Shubman Gill can score runs, but neither is he scoring runs at any pace, or he's unable to hit any ball. So it's a different conundrum altogether. At least Chiteshwar Pujara used to score runs, but at a very slow pace. Runs are runs at the end of the day. 140 ball 50 is any day is better than having 10 run of 8 balls and getting out to a swinger by Anderson or anyone for that matter. Uh, Shubman Gill looked like he was batting like a tail ender in South Africa, in my opinion. He didn't look any good at all. So, for
I
me,
think that is where India will have to take a strong call, and I think getting in KL Rahul at number 3 is the logical way to go because
yeah,
you are if you are going in with a Rajat Patidar coming in at number 3, once Kohli is back, Kohli at 4, and then he'll have to choose between Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul. Well, KL Rahul will win it, so he'll come in at number 5, and then KS Bharat at number 6. That
yeah.
is acceptable if you are playing in India, but if you are going abroad, I think that will lengthen the tail, and I think they
Yeah.
have a plan for when they are going abroad. I think
I
that
don't
is
think
where
India are touring abroad anytime soon, right? Until the end of the year. By that time,
no,
we are hoping that Rishabh Pant is back for Australia again.
exactly. We are
So,
hoping that Rishabh Pant is back for Australia, but everything will depend on how he goes after such a
yeah.
massive injury because a lot of players or a lot of people don't come out well
But he's
after
training well.
injury of that magnitude.
He's training
He
really
is,
well. His
he is.
progress is excellent. So now with Ishan Kishan also under the scanner due to a lot of controversies outside the field, I don't see him being preferred. But I'm very excited how Dhruv Jurel will go. You guys think Dhruv Jurel can get a nod ahead of KS Bharat, which I think is very unlikely. But Dhruv Jurel is not a bad option at number 6, huh? Because I think he's much more handier than KS Bharat. But KS Bharat has shown some really good glimpses of form in recent past as well.
I mean, that could have been a possibility because KS Bharat was slowly slipping out towards. I mean, initially was your succession plan, then that changed. He became your second keeper, and now slowly you felt like he was gonna get phased out of the team. But then I think that's where that England Lions innings came in, and it came at the best possible time for him because that was a litmus test for him by the selectors. And remember, in the first 3 days of that, I mean, if you guys had followed it, the first 3 days of that England Lions Test match, England Lions had actually dominated the Indian team, and or at
Yeah.
least they outplayed the Indian team on most times, and they look like all set to win it. But that's where the KS Bharat innings came out, and I know Dhruv Jurel did well in that series as well. But the point about it is that you obviously have someone at a pecking order, so when they perform, their chances get a little bit more. Their chances get a little bit more better, and that's what's happened. And I mean, I think it'll also depend on how the other batters perform, right? I think if the other batters are able to, if everyone else chips in and there's not much pressure on KS Bharat or that position of a wicketkeeper to convert his, opportunities to runs, then I think they won't
Yeah.
really mind him playing lot more. But I feel like if the batting order has certain struggles, even if India wins because of its spinners or because of its bowling attack, even if that happens, if the Indian batting does not perform as well as you would like, I think the first head to roll will be KS Bharat and Dhruv Jurel will get a chance.
Yeah, I think Dhruv Jurel is a very exciting prospect. He's averaging
Yeah, I
46
think
in 20.
he's that X factor player. He's like Ishan Kishan or a Surya Kumar Yadav,
Yeah,
but they'll have to hold. He'll have to hold his nerve while playing
yeah,
for the
true,
Indian team, because we have
true,
seen in
true.
the past these X factor players don't get the longer rope
But you know what?
because
I'm more excited about Dhruv Jurel than Ishan Kishan. Trust me, he's not. Ishan Kishan is no more an X factor for me.
no, I
Yeah,
mean he was the X factor player when he was picked for the England tour last time,
nah,
or the
man,
Australian
trust me,
tour. Yeah,
he never was. Dhruv Jurel, I still think, because I've been
Not in
following
Test.
the India A matches in South Africa as well. I think this guy did well even in South Africa recently when they toured.
yeah.
Dhruv Jurel did well there, so I personally think it's not a bad idea if KS Bharat fails in the first two test matches, integrate Dhruv Jurel for the third test match. Obviously, the first preference is KS Bharat, player in form, better keeper in my opinion, and is safe as well. So I think he's
Yeah, I
the
think
one.
better keeper hands down. I think KS, there are very fewer keepers in India that are better than KS Bharat right now.
I think he's the best
So
in the country. I think
best in the country right now. Riddhiman Shah
Ridhiman
is not.
Saha is rated at number one.
Yeah,
I don't know, he's not playing international cricket anymore, but
yeah,
Ridhiman
yeah.
Saha was the best glove man. But close to Ridhiman Saha's school is what KS Bharat is. I think another very exciting keeper on tomorrow's show is Ben Foakes, who is a very exciting keeper as well.
And
It's
and that
good
is
to
a
watch.
very good
Yes.
call from England, because I feel whatever Johnny Bairstow had been doing in the over the last 1 or 2 years in Test matches, he has been having a lot of pressure to perform with the bat and keep as well. So I
Yeah.
think that is a good
And
call
I think
going
he's
in with a
had
specialist
like
keeper.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he had a
Yeah, I
dip
think
in
Sanjay is
form.
right about it. And Johnny Bairstow's had, I mean, it's okay. Like, if you just excuse his batting and chalk it down to bad form, his keeping has been horrendous as well. It's
Yeah,
not really worked out. And I'm talking about flatter tracks in England as well. He's had horrendous chances. I know keeping is a thankless job, and you only remember the mistakes that a player makes and not really the chances he's taken. But in Test cricket, you want a keeper who's gonna, like in Test cricket, you need a batter who's going to leave the ball. In Test cricket, you need a keeper who's able to collect everything that comes along his way.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah,
unrealistic expectation, granted, but that's what it calls and that's what it needs. And I think that's where Ben Folks is going to be important. Now,
yeah,
what I'll tell you though is I still feel Johnny Bairstow and his performance is going to be key when it comes to England. I mean, when it comes to England doing well, because
yeah,
I mean, we spoke about this in the podcast as well about baseball. He's been a key component when it comes to success of baseball. And I think in India, considering the fact that he does show up, at a time where they need, yeah, there we go. If you look at Bairstow right there, 89 strike rate, I think that's massive. And if he can play close to 50 or 100 balls, he can change the test match. And I don't expect the test match to be, I expect it to be pretty much along the lines of 250 being a very good score. So if he can come along and score, out of 50 balls, if he can score 40 odd runs, that might change the game. That might be a man of the match
absolutely.
performance on
and I
some
think
days.
But
talking
another
about
again,
Johnny
keeping
Bairstow's
option for
form
England have as
under.
well.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I'll just make a point over there. I think talking about Johnny Bairstow's form under Brendan McCullum as well, the average of 59. I think prior to that in 2020, 2021, he was under a very poor patch of form where he was averaging some
Yes,
16 to
yes.
25
I
odd in
mean,
the
they
last few
had
years. And
written
then
him
you had
off.
2022 where he scored 5 or 6
Yeah,
centuries. And
but
yeah, I
Somali,
truly
my
agree.
point is also Johnny Bairstow is at his absolute worst form right now. Horrendous World Cup, did not
Yeah.
have any good games post that as well. So he's
no, but
not
I
in
think
very
we are
good
mixing up
form.
the formats. I think in Test
But let's
cricket
be
over the last
honest,
2 years, he has still
let's be
been
honest, this
like.
is the biggest test. This is not an easy place for Johnny Bairstow to ever to come. You remember
Obviously. I
2021
think if you
season?
talk about that, then you have to blame all of England's middle order, because apart
But
from Joe Root,
mentally,
the
he's not
others
in the
look
best
mediocre.
position to come out there and score runs tomorrow. Let's be honest. If he does
Yeah,
score runs, kudos to him. Well done, Johnny Bairstow. You really overcome that. But if you look at Johnny Bairstow's struggle over the years, coming in at number 5 when your spinners are going to operate, it isn't an easy ball game. Though he might take the aggressive option,
yeah.
but how long will you sustain
But
through it
well,
is the
that's been
question.
the case with all the batters apart from Joe Root in India. I think if you talk about the players that are playing tomorrow, Ben Duckett averages 6 in India. You have a Jack Crawley who averages somewhere below 20. You have Ollie Pope who averages once again some 16 to 19 in India. So you have the top three averaging really poor, and
Yeah,
with
Joe averages
three
15 in
spinners.
India.
Yeah, 15 in India. I mean Ben Stokes is a little better, I think somewhere around 30, and Johnny Bairstow as well, somewhere around 25 to 30. But I think that is not what you want to look in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand they came in and faced some difficult conditions in the 2021 tour, but then again they haven't really looked convincing in any of the tours in India. Apart from Joe
Yeah.
Root, nobody has looked comfortable.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, I think on this similar lanes, still think tomorrow is going to be exciting to see how Johnny Bairstow goes. But if he is getting to bat tomorrow, that is all. If England are batting first. Other than that, I think Ben Foakes is a fantastic option. And if you look at the England's team as well, they don't have another keeping option. Johnny Bairstow and Ben Foakes are
even
the
I
only
wouldn't be
options.
surprised if. No, I mean, I would be surprised if they still include a Ben Foakes and ask Johnny Bairstow to field. I mean, I don't think that's a bad option either because
Yeah,
Bairstow
the 11
has
is already
experience
out.
playing in India.
So if you look at the 11, Ben Foakes is your keeper.
Yeah, there you go. So I think that pretty much could be the cards. I think Ben Foakes is gonna keep, Johnny Bairstow is gonna field probably in the slips or somewhere around that area. I think that's fine. I think that will also kind of because so I've always seen that there's a trend in cricket where wicket-keeper batters, once they give up the gloves, they seem to bat better because they have that better headspace. They're not focusing 5 days of the
But
of the
Johnny
test match.
Bairstow
They
hasn't been
can.
keeping in any format, but he's not done well either.
Yeah, precisely. So I think that means it'll just give him a little bit more breathing space, a little bit where he doesn't have to focus all 5 days. And I think that'll also allow him to, maybe free up that space, mind space when he's coming out to bat. So that could be really good for him. And I think it's a good call by England because you don't have a lot of experienced batters on the bench who are not in this team.
And let's be honest, Ben Foakes played few gritty knocks even in 2021 innings, 2021 series. He was one of
Yeah.
the very few bright spots for that England team which was down sliding. So he played few gritty knocks, and I remember even Dan Lawrence played a couple of gritty knocks as well. Unfortunately, he's not part of the
Yeah.
11 for tomorrow's game. And that's about it from us for tonight. We'll be joining you day after tomorrow, not tomorrow, day after tomorrow for the third day analysis because that's the moving day, as they call in test. No, second day analysis. That's the moving day. as
Given
they
that
call
the
it.
test lasts for 2 days, after what Rohit Sharma did in the press conference
It
after
could
the
be.
South African game, you wouldn't be surprised if we come for the post-match analysis after
Yeah,
the second day.
so
Yeah,
either way,
it could be that it could
see,
be
if
when we
there's
come on
one
the second
country
day, it'll
which
be,
can
it'll
defeat
be
that
the end
record
of
of
the
South
test match.
Africa, it is India,
Yeah.
right? That games can get over in one day. If you remember, the Ahmedabad Test match in 2021 was very close to this. It was one day and
Yeah.
a session more than
No, I
what you
think
saw with South Africa.
ever since WTC cycle has been announced, teams aside from England and Pakistan have had made spicier pitches, and South Africa and India have made the spiciest ones.
Why do you
They've
think
made the
these two
toughest
teams
ones
are?
to bat.
Because England cannot bat anywhere in tougher conditions, and Pakistan cannot as well. Only two teams who struggle with batting technique is the only two teams who have made those pitches.
Yeah.
So there is no doubt in that.
Yeah.
And Pakistan, dug their own grave in 2022, if I'm not wrong.
And it's not just preparing spicy pitches and talking about batsmen. I think the Indians are by far the more superior bowling attack. If you consider Jack Leach, Rehan Ahmed, and Tom Hartley in front of a Ravi Ashwin, Jadeja, and ideally Akshar Patel or Kuldeep Yadav, I think Kuldeep Yadav is a more handy bowler. But
Rohit did give a hint that he might not. Or if India was
I
to go
won't be
with four spinners
surprised
here,
if they
India
get an
would do that.
opportunity. I mean, depends on the
But I
pitch
think
tomorrow as
you're-
well, or else you might just bank on.
I think you're putting
Ashwin
too much
and
faith
Dhoni
on
to
spin
bat.
to start off with. I think you're putting too much faith. I know it's going to be a spicy pitch, but I still feel three spinners are way too many for in terms of
But
England
with the
because they
pitch
had
what
the
we
likes
have,
of Joe Root.
there's a lot of dry areas near the batting end.
Yeah,
Which is going to
looks
turn
like a
that
sandpaper. Somewhere,
Yeah,
someplace,
exactly.
Cameron Bancroft is very happy that that cricket is embracing sandpaper.
Yeah, so either ways, I think the ball is going to turn from first.
David
session.
Warner as well.
If you're going to ball the right
No,
areas,
and I
you're going to
think
get turned.
that's where I think the new ball bowling of India is going to be important because England are going to come swinging at India, hoping to
But I don't,
capitalize
we
the
did
most on
talk
the new
about
ball.
this podcast, right, Jared? It's not
Yeah.
easy to get away with India's new ball bowling.
Absolutely.
They will come
But
but
you're
still
still going to have to be tight. You're still going to have to be tight. I think that's where the first 10 overs, if England bats, either 10, 15 overs are going to be very important for England and India. If England can, get to 100, not even 100, probably 100, 150 in that 15 overs. I'm not 150, but 100 at least. I think they'll be looking for 100 in the first 20 overs. If they can do that in the first 20 overs without losing a wicket or maybe at max a couple of wickets only, then they'll be very comfortable where they are.
Exactly.
On the other hand,
And
if India
Ben
can get
Duckett
a couple of
batting, I
early
think
wickets,
Ashwin will be introduced in the second over. If not, if I would have been the
if
captain,
things
I
go
would have
south,
given the new ball to Ashwin.
I don't think Ashwin
but you
will
still
the
have
second over.
Raj who
But
does well against
depends
left-armers.
on the
You have
conditions,
Bumrah.
Satyamani. As if India are bowling first, right? If England
Yeah.
are batting second and if India has put 300, 350 odd, I think spinners will start from
Yeah.
first over, in my opinion. Or maybe at least from second over, as you mentioned. At least tomorrow, first session, if India are bowling, first 7 overs at least, it's going to be pace. Then you're going to see spinners being introduced ball by ball. It all depends on who's bowling well as well. If Bumrah gets a couple of wickets, Siraj gets a wicket, and they will continue for 10 overs good. And then you'll see the first change. So that's how it's going to be. And that's about it from us. We'll end it for here. We'll call it a day. We'll be back tomorrow or day after tomorrow rather. And we'll see how things go. Hopefully it's a post match, or otherwise we'll continue talking about day two. See you all. Do not
I
forget to check
don't
out
want
our
to
app.
post match. I want it to at least
But India
four
have had
days.
jitters
It
in
has
the
to.
first test at a home series in the past. They tend to
Yeah.
lose the first test
Yeah, we
and then
lost to
bounce back.
England in 2021 as well. But either ways, I don't know. Either ways, I think India will win the series 4-0 at least, or 4-1 in my opinion. Otherwise, I don't see any other result coming other way. But you will do not forget to check out Boomer 11. You can play tomorrow's test match on Boomer 11 as a fantasy app, and you can win a lot of points and use those points to redeem some prizes and play a premium contest as well. Enter into our store, buy some goodies and some whatever necessary groceries you want, and then get some points invested on the premium contest where you can win a lot more bigger prizes. And check out our predictor feature as well. Guess England score, guess India score, who's going to win the match, etc. And you can win a lot of points playing that premium contest and win a lot of prizes. So this is your opportunity, and check out our free to play option as well. Have a good day, all of you. See you all very soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye, guys.